we've seen some great action around the NBA. But a topic came up today on ESPN that I wanted to get your take on, BJ.
Okay.
JJ Redick and Stephen A. Smith. For once,
Okay.
they were not screaming and shouting,
Oh,
debating
wow.
analytics or who's the GOAT.
Okay.
They were actually having quite a good conversation. And their
Okay.
conversation was which team is set up to be the best. I don't know if it was over the next 5 years or 5 years from now. And
Okay.
they picked the OKC Thunder with Shai Alexander making a leap. They've got Williams making a late push for Rookie of the Year. They've got Chet Holmgren, who's not even played yet. They've got a whole bunch of draft picks. They picked the OKC Thunder. So I wanted to put that question to you, Mr. BJ Armstrong. Which NBA team is right now set up the best that in 5 years' time you think they're going to be dominating the NBA?
Well, dominating is a big word, bro. That means now you're talking about two or more championships, right? When you say
Because
dominating,
5 years ago, they wouldn't have expected the Warriors to be reigning champions again.
yeah, yes. So, you're saying dominating. Okay. When you look at Shea Alexander, when you look at Josh Giddey, what's the kid? Williams.
Jaden Williams.
Yeah, Jaden Williams. Okay. Holmgren is not even playing. They're playing meaningful games. I would agree with that on paper. I would agree with that. I would look at their team and go, wow, that's an interesting team. Okay. And because they are winning right now and they have excellent guard play, I agree with what they're saying. Okay. I agree with that. I agree with everything they're saying.
Okay.
Okay. I agree with that. I also look around the league and I go, I like Minnesota. Okay.
Really?
I think Minnesota is set up, right? Because this kid, Anthony Edwards, of his age. And they've been doing this without, he just returned today or last night or whatever.
Yeah, Carl Towns came in tonight and hit a couple threes. Yeah. Welcome back, Cap.
I like Anthony Edwards alone. To me, at his age and what he's doing, I'm saying, okay, he's going to be a problem.
However, the team is not set up for 5 years from now. Rudy Gobert is not going to be the same as he is now in 5 years. Karl-Anthony Towns is going to be an even worse defender 5 years from now. And they traded away all of their draft picks. So as much as I also love Anthony Edwards, and I think in 5 years he's going to be one of the biggest stars in the league, I don't think that they're in the same conversation when it comes to a team perspective. Because if we're going to go down that route, then it's the Mavericks because they've got Luka. It's the Bucks because in 5 years, Giannis will still be dominating everyone. So I'm looking at it from a team perspective. So I like OKC. I've got a couple other teams.
I still like the Minnesota team. Reason being is because I love their youth, and this is a transaction league. I'm not worried about Rudy Gobert, and I'm not worried about Karl-Anthony Towns because they've won this year without Karl-Anthony Towns, and they've won without.
I wouldn't call this season they've won. Like, they've won some regular season games, but this season is not a win. This season, compared to their expectations after trading their entire future for a multiple-time Defense Player of the Year, has been far below what everyone would have been expecting when they made that move.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair if everyone was healthy. However, I'm just telling you what I see. If I'm a GM, I'm going, wow, this kid is an impactful player minus Rudy Gobert, who's an all-star, minus Karl-Anthony Towns. They're playing meaningful games, and they're right around 500. And they made a trade halfway during the year. So when I see players, as you know, Mo, I love dysfunction. I love it. When I see players who can function in a dysfunctional situation, I start celebrating. Anthony Edwards has provided leadership at his age by being he's the mainstay in everything that's going on. He's got Karl-Anthony Towns out. He hasn't played since November. Rudy Gobert, everyone was saying that trade didn't work. Okay. They make another trade with D'Angelo and do all this stuff, and they're still playing meaningful games. And I'm going, wow, with just a little stability and the right pieces around him, I think they're set up. I think they're set up beautifully because at some point, I think they can recover with the trade. So that's just me.
I agree. I agree with your take on Anthony Edwards. However, the fact that you're saying that they can recover from the trade XYZ, there's a couple of teams that I think are in better positions team-wise. The OKC Thunder being one of them. But my main two, and this is putting aside, like I said, Luka and Giannis and the other players who we know are going to be great. Number one for me is the Cleveland Cavaliers because, I heard Brian Windhorst the other day say they're in a difficult situation to go from a good team to an elite team. But when you look at it, Donovan Mitchell's only 26. Jarrett Allen, Donovan Mitchell, who's an all-star, by the way, who dropped 71 this season. Jarrett Allen, who was an all-star last year, is 24, and he could be a future defensive player of the year. Darius Garland, who's been an all-star, is only 23. And Evan Mobley, who can be an all-star pretty soon and could well be a defensive player of the year in future, is only 21 years old. So I look at that team, and I think that as a team, with no need to recover from mistakes that they've made, and I get that it's a transactional league, and Timberwolves can find a replacement for Mike Conley, and they can find a replacement for Gobert, X, Y, Z. But that team already, if they just keep those pieces and keep the wheels in motion, obviously nothing's guaranteed in this league, and things can happen. Evan Mobley, he might get his contract, they might not be paying what he wants, X, Y, Z.
Well, yeah, I'm concerned about that team. Yeah, why? I'm concerned. I'm really concerned for the Cavs. And again, this is just my take on it. The reason I like Minnesota is because I know they can play a brand of basketball with a player who will be a top 10 player in a winning situation, meaning he can play competitive and get you alone without any team and all that stuff. When I say team, you have to put people in their right places, okay? Anthony Edwards he's a number one guy. He's a number one guy.
Dog.
He's not dog. Only not just because of what he does on the offensive end, it's because what he does on the defensive end, and you have to have consistency to be able to play. He is a number one option. It's just my humble opinion. Because I know he's a number one option, I know it's far easier to build around that than to do what Cleveland has to do, in my opinion. Okay, and this is why I like them. I like Minnesota better than OKC. And the reason being is because OKC, you can't win without bigs. You can win regular season games without bigs, but you can't win. You said dominate.
Agreed. But
can't win without bigs. And they don't have an interior big that can play below the free throw line.
But then what about the Cavaliers? Do you like the Timberwolves better than the Cavaliers? Because they have two great bigs.
Okay. Now let's get to the Cavaliers. I've said it before he got drafted. I'm going to say it again. The best player, in my humble opinion, will have to be Evan Mobley.
Yes.
Okay. I've been consistent saying that. Donovan Mitchell, yes, he's an all-star. Darius Garland, yes, he's an all-star. Jarrett Allen, yes, he's an all-star. However, the best player is Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
And if you're going to win and dominate, Evan Mobley has to be the main guy that you're going to play through. I'm not sure how, at this stage of their career, based on their team, how they're going to change their entire philosophy to play through Evan Mobley with not one, but two all-star caliber guards. I think Jarrett Allen can do it because he's a big. Bigs will figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening with those guards. And those guards are small. They're a small backcourt. Okay. And when the game slows down in the playoffs, right, he's going to have to guard Jason Tatum, Chris Middleton. Okay. And that to me is a problem. Now I'm looking at you said dominate, so I'm looking at it.
Okay.
My formula for a great team is always the same. You got to have big, that means length at every position. You got to have strong, meaning can you play through the physical contact of the game? You got to have, toughness. And the final thing, you better, what kind of level of athletes that you have? Okay. The best player that fits that, he may not be strong right now, is Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, they're going to have to
He's
play
only
through.
21.
He's only 21. However, at some point, they're going to have to make a transition, in my opinion. If you're going to be, in my opinion, to play through him, which is going to take away from one of those guards. And one of those guards are going to have to figure out how to play differently, which I'm not sure they're going to do. I'm not sure. I don't know if suddenly Donovan Mitchell was going to say, you know what, I'm an 18-point scorer. I don't know if Garland is going to, I don't know. But what I do know is Evan Mobley is going to do it. Now, as I'm looking at the game, I'm saying dominate. You know, that's the key word.
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be so far out there. If you're saying who has the best chance, because I always look for big, strong, tough athletes, right? In the definition, right? Here.
Mm-hmm.
Cade Cunningham is not playing. He's big. Jaden Ivey, he's big. They're getting big. They have Duren, the Pistons. Wiseman. They have Wiseman. Okay. Now, at some point, you're going to figure out whether they can or not. But you need a level of athlete that's going to allow you to play. So none of these teams are perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But just from a physical standpoint, just the physicality of the game, I'm looking at the best teams in the league as is right now. So, okay. Jokic is the best player in the Western Conference. Which one of those teams could match up the best with them, right? Cleveland, Detroit, OKC. And then in the Eastern Conference, the best bigs are the Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers and your Boston Celtics. Okay. I like the guard play. The guard play for OKC is amazing. That's a bad matchup for you in the regular season. However, OKC, Philadelphia, I don't think they have enough bigs. I don't like that. You know, you can look at the guard play or whatever for other teams. You can attack. No team is perfect. However, if you look at the thing that's consistent in this league with the best teams in the league, they all have bigs. And that to me is the key. Cleveland, if they play through their bigs or play through that kid, Evan Mobley, now I think that allows them to play competitively with the Milwaukee Bucks, with the Philadelphia 76ers, with the Boston Celtics, with Denver.
Yes.
I don't think OKC is ready to do that. And the Detroit Pistons aren't ready to do it right now. However, those are big young kids that they have. Yeah. So who to say who's the best? I don't know, because you need a combination of all.
I have one more team, if we're talking about 5 years from now, a team that's already in the mindset of competing, but is very young. I'm talking about, a 23-year-old Jaren Jackson Jr., 23-year-old Ja Morant, 24-year-old Desmond Bane, 26-year-old Brandon Clark. I think the Grizzlies are pretty well set up for the next 5 years as well.
I like their ages. However, Jaren Jackson is an interesting player to me because he is big. I mean, he's literally a 7-footer.
He could be the defensive player of the year.
He is. He could be. I like the toughness of Dillon Brooks. Actually, I love Dillon Brooks.
Yeah,
the kid Baines, I think, is terrific. Okay. They're not big though. When I say big, they're not tall for their positions. Okay. So Ja, Dillon, and Baines are not tall for their positions. They're tough. Now they fit other criteria in which, we've gone through. We don't have to go through that again. So I think that will always be a problem. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how they're going to address that 4 or 5 years from now once Steven Adams is no longer there. Because what we do know is he's
only 29.
He's 29, but you're going to have to address that situation with him because your best player, Ja Morant, has to attack the basket.
Yeah.
So that's only going to allow him to play 30 minutes max during the course of a game because you got to keep the court open, and he's not a three-point shooter a la Brook Lopez. Every team has a problem. I'm just looking at saying who could they dominate, and the one kid just got hurt, his Achilles, which I loved him too. I can't remember his name right now.
Brandon Clark.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any team out there, but if you said it, I would agree just off the cuff. I would say the OKC Thunder, just because they're playing the most meaningful games for a team right now that no one expected to be here. However, I'm not convinced because they're going to have to address their bigs if you're going to play.